Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I filmed my last video because I'm done with my Wtfock rewatch, as you know. So I was kind of out of video ideas for a while, so I sort of just left it. But I'm back now, and I thought it would be a fun idea to do top 10 most emotional moments in the entire Skam Universe. So that's basically positive emotional moments or negative emotional moments, or I guess it's kind of relative or depends on the person and your own opinion, whether or not you find it like a positive experience or a negative experience. But just, some scene that made you feel something, basically. And it's my own personal opinions, and you might not necessarily agree with them. You probably have a different list of your own, which is totally fine. But this is my own personal top 10. So let's just get right into it.
Du vet, jeg tenker jeg at jeg har vært litt sånn spesiell i det siste. Det er litt på grunn av en person jeg liker, altså.
I think I've spoken about this before on my channel, how the original scene just really has a special place in my heart, and it kind of always will. There are multiple things I love about the way they did that scene. I think the casualness of it all and the way Jonas is just so chill about the whole thing. He sort of just takes it in stride and doesn't even like bat an eye. And he just continues on, eating his kebab. And he's so chill. But he shows interest still, and he shows that he's, there for Isak in just like really subtle ways. I feel like it's just kind of very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not to be too gendered, but it's just a very guy way of showing solidarity with your friend. Like in that particular moment when Isak tells him everything, he's so scared that things are going to change and that he's going to lose him forever. He's going to lose his best friend. Or like things just won't be the same afterwards, and there'll be awkwardness or like weird feelings lingering or whatever. And I get that. I totally get that anxiety because it's something I personally went through way back when, many moons ago. And sensing that anxiety in him and having Jonas just like be so, just for him to just be there and just love and accept him no matter what, and not even make it into that big of a deal, like just to be so calm and chill and relaxed about the whole thing is just very, very moving and emotional, and I just found it to be really, really comforting. I think that's the word I'm looking for. It's just the whole thing is just very, very comforting to me. I love the part when Isak tells Jonas who it is, the guy that he likes, and that it's Evan. And he sort of just has this moment where like he stops and he's like, good looking guy though. And it's just like you can tell he's just like, he's not really sure what he was supposed to say in that moment. He's like, yeah, he's good, he's attractive, he's a nice looking guy. I don't know what you want me to say. It's just so cute, And I love the ending part too. He needs to break up with his girlfriend. That is just such an iconic line. It's such a simple statement, but it's so true, and it's delivered in such a way that's very true to his character. So I just love that scene so much.
J'ai un triangle aussi, si tu veux.
So some of you are going to be pissed that this isn't higher, but I have a bunch of other good stuff on the way. I promise you. I remember the way I felt when I first watched this scene and I first saw him like actually start to play well. He was just sort of dicking around, pressing a few random keys, and Elliot was kind of laughing about it, and we were laughing about it, and I just thought it would be like a casual, chill scene that didn't really have anything to it. Just casual flirting. We weren't really expecting anything. And when he was just kind of like pressing random keys, we didn't expect him to be able to play so well. But then he breaks out into this freaking amazing piece that just sounds so beautiful. And he starts playing like a romantic song too on top of everything else. The song that he plays is actually called I Love You, and it's really, really amazing. You should go look it up. Just watching Elliot's whole body language and facial expression change in that moment when Lucas starts to play the actual song. He was just sort of relaxing like this, all chill, not really like caring. He just sits up and like has this look on his face like, oh my god, like holy shit. Like you can tell he's just had like an awakening TM. Like it's acted so brilliantly because you can see it on his face the moment when he sort of has this realization, when he just knows, you know? He just like knows. I know Skam Universe has its issues, but it still has some incredible moments. You cannot disagree with me on that. And that's something that I'm never gonna let go, that one particular scene. I've spoken about this before, the way the song works so well for that particular piece, that particular scene, and the way it just builds up when they're standing together in the elevator and then they just go riding through the tunnel, and there's just so much joy and liveliness between them, and Robba just looks so happy and alive for the first time in like so long, maybe even ever. There's just so much magic and so much chemistry between the two of them. This was a while ago when I first watched this, and I haven't actually rewatched it because I've been doing rewatches, not on camera though. I rewatched Druk and Skam Spania and also OG, and now I'm going to rewatch Skam France. Not all of it though, probably just season 3. Skam Italia doesn't usually stand out in most people's minds, I think, for the most part, in terms of their favorite remake or like their favorite relationships or like something that they always like pull great Skam moments from. This particular scene is something that has always stayed with me.
Nico!
I know there's a lot of frustration amongst a lot of people, and I feel it too, about the whole way that Skam Italia portrayed Nicolo's mental illness. They basically did everything exactly the same way it was in OG. It made it look like he was having a manic episode. Like they portrayed all the same signs that were laid out in OG that would point to him having a manic episode. Then in the next episode, the morning after, Magdalena, his ex, shows up and she says, oh no, he's got BPD, borderline personality disorder, which doesn't really line up because it's very different, and you can't just like keep the symptoms the same way but just like slap on a different diagnosis. That it doesn't work that way. But nevertheless, that one particular scene, especially the part where Martino is running around town looking for Nicolo, the way he yells Nico's name is, it borderline traumatized me, to tell you the truth, because the way he yells it, it's just full of broken desperation and fear. It's just, you can tell like how freaking scared he is for him. It's something else entirely. Like, I don't even know how to properly describe it.
Ik kan niet weg.
Alsjeblieft.
Ik kan niet weg.
Wat zeg je nu?
Zeg morgen ook nog.
Ik geloof je niet.
Het is waar. Fuck, Sander. Ik was ongerust. Ik dacht dat jij...
That whole conversation, even though it's fairly similar to OG in some places, is just so heartbreaking, and that whole scene is just acted so brilliantly. The part that really kills me though is at the end when Robba says to Sander, I'm so happy I found you, because I think I spoke about this in my episode 10 rewatch. It's sort of a double meaning. It can mean like in the moment, like in that particular scene. Like, he's so happy he finally found him because he was looking for him, and he finally got to him in time because he was so worried. And just in general, you know, in life, you know, like, he's just so happy that he found Sander.
Meine Eltern Schule haben sie mich Spasti genannt, weil ich immer aufs Behindertenklo gehen musste. Ich habe versucht, das nicht persönlich zu nehmen, aber... Und die Lehrer, obwohl sie es wussten, haben sie mich bei meinem beschissenen Geburtsnamen genannt. Sie haben mich behandelt wie den letzten Dreck und es wurde immer schlimmer und ich konnte nicht mehr schlafen und ich wollte einfach nur weg.
Sheer raw emotion that is delivered in that particular scene, especially in that particular snippet when David gives that whole speech, is just utterly breathtaking. And I think it's mostly because it comes from a place of reality, because the actor himself is also trans. And it's not necessarily things that maybe he's exactly gone through, but it's realities that he could potentially face, or maybe worries about potentially facing at some point. And when you make a hit real like that, when you're a writer or an actor or an artist and you're pulling from your own personal experiences and your own reality and your own identity, that's when, in my opinion, stuff gets really, really good. I've always been complimented on... For those of you who don't know, I actually write fan fiction. Some of you may want to bully me for that, but I won't allow it because I think it's a perfectly valid form of expressing what you feel in a certain fandom, what you feel about a certain TV show or a book or piece of art that you want to sort of adapt or improve upon in some way. I primarily write fan fiction about TSC, the Shadowhunter Chronicles books. And I've received compliments for basically all of my fan fiction, but the stuff that people really, really give me praise for is the stuff that I write from Tyveer's Blackthorn's POV, especially regarding the realities of being autistic and going through certain things like internalized ableism and being treated like you can't make your own decisions, and having people try to take away your agency and your autonomy, having people assume that you have no empathy or no capacity for real, true love. Just drawing from all of that, because it's my own personal experience, I think it's what makes it so good, and why so many people tend to really enjoy it. I just love their friendship so much. I think the bond that they have is very special, and I'm pissed that the show tried to ruin it. We're not going to talk about that. I remember watching that and like I was this close to crying, this close, because it's such a beautiful connection. When you know that you can truly and fully trust someone and they will always be there for you no matter what, and that they have your back, it's very special. And I'm always gonna love that scene, regardless of anything else that happened in this show.
Mírame. ¿Por qué ya no confías en mí?
Sí que confío.
Es no es verdad. Amir, espera.
I forgot how badly this scene fucked me up the first time, but when I rewatched it recently, I got to relive all those old emotions all over again. There's something so inherently beautiful about the way they did this scene. It's because it's got the original magic of the scene from OG, but it sort of put a different twist on it, and I think it partially has to do with the whole gender difference. Again, I don't want to fall too much into gender roles, but I think I like the way certain things change based on the fact that this is now a conversation happening between two girls instead of two guys. There's more tenderness and closeness between the two of them that you can see, and it's got more of like an emotional, raw feel to it. I think that's largely due to toxic masculinity in the society, that like guys don't really express their feelings like that. And yes, I do like kind of like the casualness of Jonas in the OG scene. I also love the way things were between Amira and Chris in this moment as well. In that moment when there's this pause in the action, and then Amira, you can tell she's like this close to crying. She looks at Chris, and Amira says to Chris, look at me. Look at me. And there's this very, very heavy pause where no one says anything, and Chris is still looking at the ground. And finally, Chris looks up at her, and she's crying, and Amira's crying, and now we're all crying. And Amira just says to Chris, why don't you trust me anymore? Oh my god, I'm trying so hard not to cry right now. Because, you know, I feel like that moment is something that we can all relate to on both sides. Like, we've either had a secret that we desperately wanted to keep from our friends because we were afraid of how they were going to react, or that we were afraid that we were going to be judged for it, or our friend was keeping something from us and we were really hurt by it because we felt like that meant that they didn't care about us anymore, they didn't trust us anymore, and we just desperately wanted to find out what was going on. So I feel like either way, that's something that all of us can really understand. And in that moment, it's acted so well because you can see this strong connection that these two girls have with each other. You know, they've known each other a long ass time. This goes back all the way to, like, I think all of the Jonases and Isaacs have known each other since like kindergarten or first grade or something. They've known each other a long time. They've been through a lot together. And they're very, very close. And now Chris has this thing that she's just so desperately trying to keep hidden from Amira because she's afraid of how she's going to react. I think a large part of that has to do with certain religious stereotyping as well. But I think it just in general, too, it's, like I said before, it's scary to come out to your best friend because you just don't know if things are going to be the same after that. Chris takes the leap and she makes the decision that she's going to trust Amira. She's going to trust Amira the same way she's trusted her all this time, all these years. And she's making the decision that, okay, this is going to work out. It's going to be fine. I'm safe. And that leap pays off. I don't even know if I have the words. I genuinely do not know if I have the words. Just everything about that. It just destroyed me. The flashbacks and the music and sort of the religious setting of it all with the church and the imagery of Romeo and Juliet from the movie as well, creating parallels between the movie and Skam. In that moment, also when Isaac receives the text from Evan and we're all really scared that something's going to happen, that he's going to hurt himself, and Isaac's scared that that's going to happen too, and we're all feeling the same stress and the same fear, only it's happening for the very, very first time because it's OG, so we don't know that everything's going to be okay, so we're freaking the fuck out. I remember when I saw that scene the first time, and I was like, I swear to God, if we lose this character, I'm quitting. I'm quitting right here on the spot. I'm shutting my laptop down, and I'm never watching this again. I'm quitting. I have strong, strong feelings about that scene. It gets me every time. and we just get this like beautiful reconnection, and Isak just says to him, "You're not alone." It's just such a beautiful, beautiful scene. It just makes me cry every time. So good. I am such an idiot because I did not realize originally themes of rebirth within the season. And of course, I picked up on the religious undertones with, like, obviously the church and the crosses from Romeo and Juliet and all that stuff. And obviously Isak's mother being heavily religious and constantly sending him like Bible quotes and stuff. What I didn't pick up on was the whole rebirth and reincarnation theme. Because at 21:21, when Isak and Evan go into the pool, and he essentially, they both get dunked underwater in that moment when they go underwater. It's sort of almost like a baptism. And then when Isak comes back up after they've kissed for the first time and he comes back up for air, it's almost as if he has been reborn in that moment. And this is also incredibly significant because 21:21 was actually when Isak was born. We learn this later on in the season when Isak's mom texts him back saying, I love you, after he's come out saying, I love you, this doesn't change anything, you're still my son, yada yada. And she mentions his birth date in the text. He was born, and also like the time he was born and everything. He was born at 21:21. So that means that the kiss underwater happened at the exact same time that he was born. So there's a clear theme of rebirth in the season, which probably seems really obvious to a lot of you, and you're probably really disappointed that it took me this long to figure it out. Believe me, I'm mad at myself too. It's been 4 years, and like now I'm finally starting to realize this. Like, come on. But sometimes I'm a little slow. So a few honorable mentions really quick. That scene with Sana and Martino, I didn't include it in my top 10. It's got some slightly problematic aspects. Like, it kind of takes out the whole people should really just do their own research because they have access to the internet piece, which I think is very, very important. And you shouldn't always be putting the burden on people in marginalized groups to explain their life story to you, But I also like the general message of, like, in order for people to truly know what you're going through, you have to open up and let them in. And Martino's whole quote about you have to give them intelligent answers to their stupid questions is still one of my favorite quotes of all time. Another honorable mention is Chris and Joanna running through the streets after they've run out of the bar without paying. And that song Hurricane is playing in the background, which I've become flat out obsessed with. I just love that song so much. Just the carefreeness of that moment when they're just running high speed and like laughing together and just having this wonderful, beautiful moment. It's a lot like all those other scenes with the boys on the bikes,
Pourquoi?
Parce que c'était plus simple. J'ai merdé, Daphné. J'ai fait du mal à tout le monde.
Personne t'en veut, Lola. Personne. Papa est au commissariat. Toute la MIF te cherche. Même Maya, elle était prête à retourner toute la ville pour te trouver, mais je lui ai dit de rester chez elle au cas où t'irais.
J'ai fait du mal à Lucas et à Elliot. Surtout à Elliot.
C'est Elliot qui t'a retrouvé. Il a reconnu l'emplacement de la tour. Ils sont juste allés vérifier un autre toit parce qu'ils étaient pas sûrs. Tout le monde te cherche, Lola. Viens.
Où ça?
À la maison, faut qu'on les prévienne tous.
Je peux pas. Pas après tout ce qui s'est passé.
T'accordes trop d'importance à ce que les gens pensent de toi, Lola.
The way their relationship evolved over the season is very, very emotionally moving to me. I loved it. I loved how they started out being at odds with each other for various reasons and sort of being hostile towards each other. It was mostly because Lola was feeling left out and hurt, and then she would lash out at Daphne, and then Daphne would just sort of retaliate. But they sort of tried to reach common ground after the death of their mother and start to bond with each other and get closer. And then they start going through similar issues, and that also creates a bit of a bonding experience as well. So it kind of makes a lot of sense that to round out this whole arc at the very, very end of the season, that Daphne would be the one to find and, I don't know, rescue Lola. I don't really want to use that word because I like to think that Lola chose to rescue herself in that moment. But Daphne was the one who was there for her and who talked her out of it. This is a whole thing that hits very, very close to home for me because during my moments of deep depression when I was considering suicide, it was often my stepsister who was there for me, who was the one who sat with me and talked to me and helped me through it. It's really, really important that you have someone who's there for you, who'll just stay with you and show you truly how much they care about you. The conversation that takes place between Daphne and Lola when she's trying to get Lola to understand not just how much she loves her, but also how much everyone else loves her. How it doesn't matter that she's fucked up, she can make up for it, she can fix her mistakes. You know, it's going to be a bumpy road. That's just a whole part of the process, and she doesn't need to give up now just because she made a mistake. I think is a very, very important scene. And then she even goes as far as to use Lola's own words against her and sort of turn it back around on her when she says, you care too much about what people think. Because that's the exact same thing that Lola said to Daphne earlier on in the season in a very condescending and snippy way. And in this scene, Daphne uses it as a way to sort of tell Lola, hey, don't worry so much about what everyone else thinks. Don't worry about the opinions of other people. Don't worry about whether or not people are mad at you or not. This needs to be about you and your own recovery and taking care of yourself. Okay, so that's finally it. That's my list. I don't know when I'm going to be posting my next video. I'll see you guys relatively soon, hopefully. Bye.